Hi, it's Michael Senoff with Michael Senoff's HardToFindSeminars.com. The title of this interview is called Autism, Genes, Fingerprints, and Caffeine, Surprising Things You Should Know About Your Health. If you thought caffeine was bad for you, think again. According to Dr. Roizen, best-selling author and co-creator of RealAge.com, you should drink at least 6 cups of coffee a day to reduce brain aging. In fact, he says there are 151 things you can do to change your rate of aging, and in this audio, you'll hear some of them. Dr. Michael Roizen also talks frankly about a number of health issues concerning people today, including the rise of autism rates and its possible link to both the environment and genetics. You'll also learn how to stay younger than your years. Dr. Roizen is in his 60s, but his real age is 44. Exactly what scientists know about autism. Is it really linked to childhood vaccines, and just how safe are the shots anyway? You'll learn ways we can influence the genes we have and turn on a gene that will prevent colon, prostate, and breast cancer just by eating 4 servings of broccoli a week. You'll learn how a mother-to-be's lifestyle can affect her baby's behavior after he's born and ways to stay healthy during pregnancy. You'll learn all about the power that food has over our health and simple ways to live better and healthier. You'll learn exactly how fingerprints are formed and what makes each one unique. As a physician of internal medicine and co-author of the U series of health books, Dr. Roizen knows his stuff when it comes to many different health issues, and he shares a lot of that information in this quick interview. I hope you enjoy.
Hi, this is Chris Costello, and I've teamed up with Michael Senoff to bring you the world's best health-related interviews. My dad used to tell me that making money is great, but being able to spend it in a healthy and vibrant manner makes your financial success that much sweeter. So if you know anyone struggling with their weight, with cancer, diabetes, ADHD, autism, heart disease, or other health issues, send them over to Michael Senoff's HardToFindSeminars.com. I'm Chris Costello, and today we're talking with one of America's best-loved doctors, Dr. Michael Roizen. Dr. Roizen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Chris, it's always a privilege, and you're from the best-loved area of the country, so I think all of us would love to be out there in Santa Barbara with you.
Now, Dr. Roizen, you've written just the wildly popular series along with Dr. Oz, the You series, You on staying healthy and young, and your newest, You on having a baby. But there's a subject that I know a lot of our listeners are interested in and wondering about, and I wondered if you could speak a little bit to what is going on with these really high rates of autism and learning disabilities in American children these days.
Well, there's no doubt it has increased over the last 50 years. There's also no doubt that both environment and genetics play a role. And in the genetics, for example, if 2 engineers marry each other, instead of a 1 in 150 or 160 rate of autism, there's almost a 1 in 15 or 16. So it's a much higher predominance. And obviously, the engineers reflect a genetic personality trait that may have more genetic basis. On the other hand, there also is an increase in some polluted areas where the farmers had specific wells they drew from. So it appears that there's both an environmental and a genetic component, and the environmental may relate to something we're doing to our environment on a more widespread basis, whether it is pesticides or whether it is the way we're, if you will, growing things, etc. There are a whole raft of things that are being investigated. In fact, some of the people at UC Davis are doing what we would call some of the most important environmental work in the area, trying to find out what it is. What we know that it isn't from pretty darn good studies now is we know it isn't the mercury content of vaccines or at least any one vaccination.
Yeah, well, I want to ask you about that because I know there's so much anecdotal information from parents that they see their kids get a vaccination and then they just freak out because that day or that night, you know, the child has a fever. There's lots of stories out there, which I'm sure you've seen too.
When you get a fever or stressed reaction, you bring out certain diseases that would have been brought out anyway that are of the mitochondria. And so in the specific examples where it's been examined, where it's been, quote, triggered within a very short time frame after vaccination, it almost invariably, in fact, I think it has been invariable, there is a genetic disease that is known to be triggered by an inflammatory response, and that disease just hasn't been evident until then. So there are known triggers. Those things would have come out were they to have gotten, if you will, a fever in the future. So that gives us some important messages. In the You Having a Baby book, Mehmet and I did a series on what vaccination your child should get and why, and looking at the numbers needed to treat so any parent could make their own decisions. But we did this in a way that both the pro and the anti-vaccine group have yelled at us strongly. We actually had 34 different consultants, people very much on both sides of the issue, as well as people representing the medical establishment, people representing the anti-vaccine group, and tried to mold a conclusion from it. It was by far the longest and hardest thing we've had to write because literally virtually every one of the people we talked to after we had come to the conclusion that we had, both sides were annoyed at us for not going with the traditional view and not going with all vaccines are bad. Clearly the vaccines have saved a lot of people, and clearly there are better ways to give them. And the other point is we don't want the anti-vaccine group to stop it because they have forced a great deal of improvement in vaccine safety.
Are there ways to make the vaccines safer? I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind for me is why can't they take some of these additives out?
Literally on childhood vaccines, they've taken the mercury out of all but one or two of them. And the amount of mercury you get in the typical flu shot now that is not individual dose, and you can get individual dose for kids, but the kind that is in the one that us adults get is the amount you get in eating the average 4-ounce piece of tuna. So it's not very much mercury, and it's in a much more benign form than, in fact, the fish tuna is in.
Hi, it's Michael Senoff with HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching this video. You know, many of my interviews last 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, sometimes even up to 2.5 hours long. They're actual mini-seminars, and you've just listened to a short sample of just one of over 117 hours of exciting, hard-hitting, mind-blowing interviews on how to make money in direct mail, advertising, copywriting. I assure you, there is not a resource anywhere on the internet or on the planet that comes close to the free information I provide at HardToFindSeminars.com. So go right now to HardToFindSeminars.com and you'll have free access to 117 hours of audio interviews with typed word-for-word downloadable transcripts and downloadable MP3 files. Please browse some more of the videos or go right directly to HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching.